Well, as we count down to the 50th anniversary of Montserrat Festival, I have here with me a gentleman who needs no introduction. If I did try to introduce him, maybe I would take a few hours. But I would just simply say, Mr. Justin Hero Cassell, thanks for speaking with us here today.
You're welcome, Red Rider. And that reminds me, Neil Armstrong died yesterday. And, he was the first person who went to the moon. And they always said he was very modest. So I compare that to my accomplishments in Calypso. I'm always very modest about my tremendous record.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Well, let's go back a little bit in time.
Yes.
And first of all, I want to ask you, does it seem like it's been 50 years since that first festival?
Not really, because I feel so energetic, still feel so youthful that I could jump on the stage again. But I've been warned, to take it easy and work behind the scenes with, upcoming Calypsonians, which I've been doing for the past couple of years. It really flied very quickly, that 50 years. And as we sort of prepare for this momentous occasion, I look towards the other 50 years in that I'm involved in this magazine, the commemorative magazine, the 50th anniversary commemorative magazine. And I think the amount of pains I had with the research, and you did the 40th, and I know it was very time consuming and tedious for you to gather the information to do a comprehensive coverage of the 40 years. I had the same experience. So one thing I pray for is that someone does a better job of documenting, like you're doing here, documenting all the events and all the various festivals, so it'll be easy 50 years from now when I look down from heaven and see somebody else doing what we're doing now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me ask you, when did you first become really interested in Calypso? Can you pinpoint how old you were? Or?
Absolutely, probably about 5 or 6. And it's a whole family thing where Justin, Lawrence, and Alfonso, we used to listen to Radio Trinidad on a Saturday night, following up the Calypsos on the various tents. Because we always had an early love for Calypso. We just used to love the music, like to listen to it, and we had that old Grundig radio. So when our parents were sleeping on a Saturday night during carnival time in Trinidad, we'd sneak out and we'd listen to these Calypsos. And we used to do a very interesting exercise, which is where we probably developed some of our writing skills, where we used to try to memorize all the lyrics and write them down. And then after the Trinidad carnival is over, Coca-Cola used to put out a booklet, which has all the calypsos of the season and all the lyrics. And we used to make our comparison there and see how well a job we did in sort of, learning, understanding lyrics and writing all the lyrics. So those early days is when the ranges really developed. And then as a student at the Montserrat Secondary School, every Wednesday we used to have debating society, and we had to do some performance. And I always wanted to write a calypso. I wrote a calypso about my geometry teacher in the triangle ABC, Justin in the back seat. Can you see that the line drawn from A to B something? So that's from my early encounter with trying to write calypso and be interested in calypso.
Okay. Now, you have several older brothers. They were never involved in calypso?
Well, not to the extent. Well, let's say Ozzy, who has died now, he's in Canada. He was more or less a fanatic, and he was involved to the extent that he used to encourage us and say, okay, you sing this, say you don't sing this, because you rightly said in your magazine that we never competed against each other.
Right.
Who we thought had the best songs, we still let back and let that person go through. And of course, Kenny, who is the oldest person in the family of the siblings, he used to teach us keyboard, and that's the regret I have today. I was a bit unruly at that time, and I did not go through my keyboard lessons. So otherwise it could have helped me so much now with my writing and creation of melodies and things. So that is the sort of interest that the other members of the family had shown in the calypso art form. And of course, mother was always there to say, oh, that one is a dirty one, don't sing that one.
Okay. So even though the older brothers did not necessarily sing calypsos, they encouraged you and Lorenzo and Arrow?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so now we go to 1962, the first calypso show. From what I understand, it was 5 of you.
Absolutely.
Yourself, Christo, Tangler, Ruler, and Mr. Red Pole.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your memories from that night?
Well, my memories from that night was such an exciting thing. But let me first talk about the material that I used for that first calypso competition. There was a gentleman here by the name of Ramsey. He was the editor of the newspaper of the day, that time, the Mirror, a very popular newspaper. And he used to do that much writing with just like youngsters, and you don't understand how to write. Never wrote a calypso in my life. So I went to him and said, listen, I want to enter the calypso competition. Can you do 2 calypsos for me? And he did something we call X soup. and football full craze nowadays. I said to me, that's not. I think I could do something better than that. And because of the failure, his failure to give me two songs that I thought were that I could use, I started to make my own attempt to write, and I wrote my first calypso, Lizzie and Joe, which was a satire on the news. You know, that were a column in the newspaper. The owner of the paper is a Montserrat, and the chief editor is a Bajan.
Right.
But no matter what I try, I can't get to know the two people writing Lizzie and Joe.
Right.
It sort of equates to what we have today, just wondering, the same sort of thing. So that was the early days. Then the rehearsals, we never really got any rehearsal. Well, Christo was a little more fortunate because the members of the band, Pam and Sam White and these guys were from Corkhill. And Christo was a Corkhill man. So of course he could meet them in Corkhill, have a little practice. The only practice we got is was when we announced. And so the guy would, Will, blacksmith will come up with the saxophone and say, let me hear you key.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And that was it.
As you enter the stage. So we had some rude awakenings in the beginning, you know, compared to today where guys spend hours and less hours in the band house. You wonder if they need to spend that much time.
Right.
And then I delivered the calypsos and one.
Yes, yes. Now, obviously, back in those days, you didn't have drum machine and
No,
a lot
it was,
of technology.
and we had out of time drumming, singers singing out of time, singers singing out of key. You know, you always have those little problems in the early, you're starting out your career. I sang out of key a couple of times myself, notably in 1974. You know, when I got a bit intoxicated, I tried a blend of something that I ought not to have done, and you know, that caused a little problem.
Yes. As you were just talking about Christo a little bit, now everybody knows about your rivalry with Reality.
Exactly.
But Christo was actually your first sort of mini rivalry.
Exactly, both he and Ruler.
Yes.
They teamed up as two Corkhill men and they would mouth you. I mean, up to today, Ruler will still meet and say, go bang you. Although he's not singing, but that's sort of competitiveness and all that in good faith, the camaraderie. You know, I mean, there was no real enemies. I mean, sometimes, and in years, later years, Calypso got a bit bitter and the country was split in two, you know.
Right.
With the rivalry me and Reality, I controlled from Plymouth to certain parts of Salem and Reality from there to the north.
Right.
But it's good for the competition because it bring the fans out. You remember the early days when Reality was in the competition. I mean, the whole of North coming to the show, the whole of this area coming. I mean, people, you know, you couldn't get in the show if you didn't leave early.
Right, right. Now, from what I understand, so in 1962 you won with Lizzie and Joe.
Yeah.
63, I think Christo came back and beat you. I think you sang Flora.
Yeah,
and then he
yeah,
sang
Hurricane Flora, yeah.
He sang the same old Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting story with Hurricane Flora because at that time you had bitter discontent between Cuba and America and Russia. And the people, the Russians were accusing America of bombarding Hugo because Hugo, I think, hit Cuba twice. He hit it, go
Flora.
and then come back. Flora, rather. And they thought that these American scientists had something to do with it. I think Grenada got a little punch. And he has Hurricane Flora, yeah. I remember that one quite well.
And 64, you did not participate. I think you told me you went off to school?
No, not as early as 64. I went to school like in 68. But I think it's one of these decisions made within the family that we should put. I think
because Lorenzo was in that year.
And he had the bald head man.
The
They
bald
do away
head
with the
man.
bald head man. And we thought, well, let him go through with that. You know, so I just stayed in the background and, of course,
And he won.
helped with the choreography. We had it more or less under control, it seems.
Right, yes, yes. 65, you come back, Wicked Married Men.
Oh yeah, what's wrong with married men nowadays? Why they have so much wicked ways? Like the vows of matrimony didn't last. They turned from silver to brass. Yeah, at the time we had a lot of immorality happening in Montserrat where, you know, married men were just having affairs here and there. And I thought I should sing about it. And people saying, well, somebody your age singing that kind of calypso, you know, you expected some less intense, you know, less, you know, like I didn't call names, but it was very obvious who these people were.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so after you won in 1965, from what I understand, that you took a break and went off to do some schooling.
Yeah, I went to the Jamaica School of Agriculture to do a course in agriculture. And of course, you know, I used to sing calypso there too because we had an entertainment evening. And I had a new name up there. I was not here in Jamaica. I was Calypso Joe. They used to call me Calypso Joe.
Who gave you that name?
Well, the students on the compound, you know, gave me that name, Calypso Joe.
Okay.
So I went there to pursue a course in agriculture. And then when I left Jamaica after 3 years, I went on to the University of the West Indies in Trinidad to complete a degree in agriculture and won the Calypso King of the Campus Day in 1971. The name of that song was Heroes Sugar Factory. I don't remember the lyrics now, but you know,
Yes.
that's what I did during that period.
Now, I know you said that you did some calypsos while you were away at school. Did it hurt you, or did it pain you that you weren't back home?
Absolutely. I always thought of Montserrat. Every Christmas I used to pack my bags wanting to come home. But you know it is in these days. I was a student paying my own way and dependent on my parents to help out. And I didn't want to put any extra burden on anyone. So I spent all those Christmases abroad. But of course, I was very close to Montserrat because I got my regular reports as to what was happening in Montserrat.
Yes. But I'm sure part of you wished you were.
Oh, yeah, I wish and then guys like you, have all this information and have fill me in.
Yes.
Even in recent times, of some of the scenes from back then, I, look at them on various websites, so
Right.
that get a visual of what used to take place.
Yes. Now, you said in 1964 that you stood out and let Lorenzo go in.
Yeah.
And in 1967 now, another younger brother came up who kind of made a name for himself.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you could talk all day about your brother Arrow.
Absolutely.
When did you first spot that greatness in him?
Well, from way back in 1962. He was quite young then, and he used to say, when we were practicing at home, he would say, no man, when you're singing this line, you have to move like that. He always, interested in the performance, so you do what your gesticulations, your facial expressions. So from that early period, it was very evident that this man going to hit it hard on the stage, and always very energetic. See, he don't feel like he should stand and deliver as so many calypsonians have been doing today, that he should move around. So from then I spotted that he would be good on the stage as a great performer as he did.
Did he exceed what you thought he could do?
Absolutely he did. Yes, I don't want to jump the history because we sort of going up in sequence. But when I was in the Bahamas in 1975 teaching agricultural science there in the school, and then he sent up some of his music, his early recordings, and I listened to them. I figured that I had to get back to Montserrat to make some changes because I felt he was too fast, and what was going in those days was groove, and you needed a sort of drum beat that could fit into the pop music or in a way in the disco era. So you have to have that kind of drum beat that these DJs wanted to go from song to song, and that's the sort of thing that myself and Clarence Uncle Edwards got involved in, getting a kind of groove that fits into that pop groove, and that's why our music was so unique.
Right. Now, one thing I found interesting is that, okay, here you were in the first few years of the festival, you won a couple of crowns, took a break, came back in the early 70s, won a couple more crowns, took another break, came back in like 1980, I think it was.
89, yeah, right.
In 1980, when your Rivalry reality started,
right, yeah.
and you started winning again. What is this? How are you able to just take a break and pick back up where you left off? What do you think your secret was?
Well, let me just start with a quotation. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have trust upon them. What I was taught by a lecturer, one of my professors, that identify your attributes and use them to the maximum. I had the skill to write good songs and to deliver good songs, could sing them, because I always contend is a singing competition. And I always felt full of confidence that once I'm in a competition, I'm going to be hard to beat. I have a tremendous record. I think I went in about 13 competitions and won either 9 or 10 crowns. So I didn't lose very much. My number is 12. When I'm not first, I'm second.
Right.
And that's not only a record for Montserrat. In the OISES competition in 1987 and 88, I won, in 87 and then placed second, in the second year. So I just feel, even right now, I feel I could go in the competition and be a force to reckon with.
Right. Do you find it easy? Is it something easy for you?
It comes naturally, it finds easy once I get fit, vocally fit, physically fit, because it's very important to have a chest full of air and have lungs that could move and expand to sing properly and deliver. And once I've got my fitness up, it's problems.
Right.
And I would not wait for the last minute, as so many calypsonians do today, and this is what bothers me. I felt I had certain skills and was blessed with certain amount of talent. And I would start to prepare early. Start to prepare early, mentally, physically, I had to be physically fit, and so to go on that stage, strong legs, strong, powerful lungs and all that. The guys just want to fool around and so on, and then they put their vocal cords under some stress in November, December. By the time come to the competition, they can't sing because they've been singing so often. They should be singing their songs all now.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
One, I want to make an observation, and you tell me if I'm correct on that.
Absolutely.
I have examined your lyrics and some of your most famous songs over the years, especially the social commentaries, from Manifesto to, you know, where they galvanize and close them down and greedy merchants. And one thing I noticed is that you have your ear to the ground and you have a way of seeing what kind of topics are going to resonate with the community.
That's the key. That's the key. And that's the politics in me if you look at those topics. The key is, as all, you know, books written about lyrics will tell you, get the popular theme. Write about something that on people's lips. There's no point writing about something that means nothing. I would not write about Syria in, let's suppose, Argentina's calypso competition. Although Syria, you know, on the international scene is big news. I would not write about Syria. You have to use things that on people's lips, and right away half the battle is done. Or you use a slang.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's cross the bridge. We'll cross the bridge when we meet it. But otherwise, you have to come with a popular theme. Where they galvanized at the time, you know, that was it. Why all the galvanized gun is one man do the galvanized.
Right.
Where the galvanized, you come up with that boom. As he hit the radio, he took over.
Yes.
You know.
And everybody could relate to it.
Exactly.
Because everybody went through that Hugo thing.
I go get kind of controversial here, and I believe I heard comments in me that you sort of side with me. I don't know why some calypsonians go to great lengths to confuse the audience. You know, to sing songs that give you so much problems. You have to wait till what did he mean and wait till 3 or 4 months to really get the hang of the calypso. No. Chaucer, who was a great author, was famous for simplicity of diction. And I believe a calypsonian should be very simple and straightforward and every day. Why use words that confuse people? A calypso is not supposed to send no one in the dictionary. And I remember Harold telling me one time when I wrote a very philosophical song, I asked me, where are you going with that? He said to me, well, I said, well, it's a great song. He said, yeah, it's great to you, but you're singing for people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you always, a calypso must always remember, sing for the people. Sing something they could relate to.
Right. I've been asked about songwriting before, and one thing I always say is that I think there's a misconception about songwriting where some people think you have to be a Rhodes Scholar or you have to be a PhD. I think you just have to be a curious person and observant.
Of course.
Because Bob Marley was not a college graduate,
yeah.
And he wrote some of the most, you know, the greatest lyrics in our time.
Exactly. And you see, it comes from inside, how you feel, an experience, some imagination. You have to be, you know, I agree with you that you need a college education, but you have to have some sort of creativity, great powers of creativity, you know, to come up with something.
Right.
You know, I mean, I must commend you for that song, Melting Pot. I thought that was a fantastic song. I won't tell you how I rated it, but I rated it up. So
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about reality, your rivalry with reality. I think this era here in the early 80s was when probably I would say Montserrat Calypso was at its peak.
Absolutely at its peak.
What were those years like?
Boy,
when everybody around town was talking about it? And
tremendously intense. And the whole atmosphere that was created by Reality and myself. I mean, during the practices leading up to the competitions was like a major event. The band houses had hundreds of people. If I'm practicing hammer, they're there with Chad, you know, and all of that. And they had a great atmosphere created. And the rivalry, and everybody was waiting for Hero to release, Reality to release, and then they start judging from there. You know, so once you know you didn't, if you had a poor recording and it's sounding click from the beginning, you know that you might be in trouble in the competition.
Right.
And the whole excitement about Reality and Hero, I don't think it's not easy to recapture that kind of situation these days.
So we were talking a little bit about your rivalry with Reality. Did the rivalry ever become intense and bitter, or was it just the fans who were just the intense?
The rivalry between us, song-wise, and you know, competing in the calypso in the competition was extremely intense. But we always had a great friendship. Because remember, Reality worked with me in my house, preparing our music. We also played together at the Agouti. We cooked together, we limed together, and so on. So there was real good friendship between us, but the bitter rivalry, and the fans contributed tremendously to that bitterness. They used to curse me. At one point, I couldn't go to the north. And by the same token, Reality fans couldn't go to George Street, because I had George Street fully behind me, and so on.
Yes.
But but even among the musicians, I mean, I remember there was a drummer from Antigua called Ruggs, and you know, even the hammer was split in two, half supporting Hero, half supporting Reality. And I remember one of the bass players saying that the drummer is playing the drums better for reality than he's playing for me. I never sort of contributed to that kind of discussion. I just always stood there wanting to sing my song, let's get on with it. But there was that kind of situation existing even within the band.
Right.
You know, you'd be very enthusiastic.
Yes.
When he's playing for reality, when he's playing for me, sort of laid back. And that was detected by many. And then I could recall one time on stage when I was singing Prum Prum, Belzy suddenly dropped his stuff, the pick fell out of his hand. Lots of persons thought that it was a deliberate act. So when he took back up the pick, he started, the key went from A to F. But of course I held my own, you know what I mean, and afterwards it's a big thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean, it was a big thing. And I could recall when I was singing Manifesto that night in Sturge Park, you know, it was raining and I was getting shocked with the mic. And you know, I skipped one word, didn't burst, didn't get lost with my lyrics. I was able to continue, but I skipped a word. And reality fans were in front of the stage, pounding on it, and went right in front and said, you see, hero bus, he can't win the bus. I lost by half a point.
I have a point. Wow. Let me ask you now. Now, for somebody like yourself who's accustomed to winning,
Yes.
and you won right off the bat in the first festival,
Yeah.
those few years when you lost to reality, how did you take the disappointment?
Great. Because in a competition, it's always about winning and losing. You look at a boxer. When they lose, they might offer excuses as to why they win. I never offer an excuse. I know they start to do better the next time. And I look at the areas where he whipped me, and I'll focus on that. The edge reality he had over me, he was called a melody man. So I had to beat him with vocal power, because he had sweet melodies. And then he always had some sensational props on stage. I can remember when he jumped out of that coffin. I was never a man for props. My props were organized by guys like Deputy and Ronald Allen. And I showed no interest in props. So, and in those days, those props used to, I don't think they were actually points allocated for props, but they would definitely push the judge's pen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And cause an uproar. When suddenly 10,000 people jump up in the air, Jesus have mercy.
Yes.
That could affect the judge. And, you know, so in that way, I believe that, you know,
Yeah.
it had some effect.
I think that props are supposed to accentuate your performance, but sometimes it can detract from it.
Absolutely. I've seen occasions where calypsonians looking back, beckoning the guys, come on, you should be on. No, I don't believe in props at all. I believe it's a singing competition. Let's leave the drama for Chad and these guys to have in cultural center. I mean, the calypsonian guy says, all you should have in his hand is a mic. I mean, I guess he could have won the attire to portray what he's singing about. Your first song, you had no props.
Right.
If I could recall, you had no props.
Yeah.
Just gonna sing your song, you have confidence that your song is good. Guys have some elaborate stuff on stage, placards. If you have proper lyrics, why you have placards? And say what?
Yes.
We pass the lyrics and these speeches and so that are made before a man sing a song. Why you have to have a speech?
Right.
You know, that's not part of the song,
Right.
in my opinion. You know, but I guess it's part of the show. People like it.
Yes.
But I never went for it, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm not speaking favorably of it.
Right. Now, I know you said you took the disappointments well on the years that you
course.
fell short. Were
Yeah.
there any years that you can pinpoint where you felt you should have won that you lost?
No. I felt that there was one where I thought I could have lost. But I won. That's a song, Body to Body, when Hustler was very good in the competition. But I don't think like that. I don't think like that. You know, I don't have, those are never my thoughts. You know what I mean? My fans will be disappointed. People working in the camp will be disappointed. But I always say, let's do it better next year.
Right.
I'm never angry over those kind of things. You have to win and lose. You know, one thing I love to do is get in the competition and some youngster whoop me. And then I say, shucks, Cass, you have to come back and show your mettle again. And maybe come back next year, they fall in there and take back the crown. I have 4 in a row right now. And that's a record that's going to be hard to beat.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Some people are encouraging me to go in this competition, but I don't feel I need to.
Yes.
Reality jumps in the competition, I'm right there.
Okay.
Beer in the competition, I mean, I don't have to, I'll match up with reality because I think we have a long record of rivalry. With Beer, I had no rivalry with Beer. With Beer, with the comparison me and Beer, for those who tend to want to grade our calypsos, calypso is check the stats. Just like in cricket, you check them on average, check the accomplishments, and you determine by that who you think is the top calypso in the Montserrat ever produce.
Right.
I saw somebody at some ratings where they had me like number 6th. Ridiculous. What about my track record?
Right.
10 crowns, the only person next to that in the Caribbean is Short Shirt, right? 4 years undefeated, king of the Calypso, monarch of the University of West Indies campus in Trinidad, Oasis Calypso competition, international hits.
Right.
I mean, to compare yourself with me, and maybe I'm boasting at this, in this part of the interview, but just to set the record straight, you have to have those accomplishments. It's well and good to have a hit in Montserrat, but come with me in Jamaica, come with me in Germany,
Yes.
and let's see you separate the men from the boys.
Right,
You have to
right.
have some kind of international hit or even a regional hit.
Yes,
Thank you.
exactly. I'd like to ask you one more question about your brother Arrow.
Sure.
Even though this interview is really about you, but I want to ask one more question. Because you guys collaborated so many
Oh, yeah,
times and
absolutely.
everything, and
Yeah.
that was a very integral part of your career.
Exactly.
If you could pinpoint one musical memory you have of working with him, what would it be?
Well, it will be a decision as to what to call the song we know today as Hot Hot Hot, the title. Because there's a big summits on Wall Street, various groups of people coming in to give an opinion. My mother was part and parcel of it. Actually, I was thrown out of the discussion at one point for cursing. Because when the song was created, the name was Fundamental Jam. You can recall, we need a party song, a fundamental jam. Fundamental Jam was the name of the song. But the hook was Hot Hot Hot. I said, listen, from what I read about proper lyric writing, a song cannot have two hooks.
Right.
Two titles. The title, the most appropriate title is Hot Hot Hot. I was bitter against Hot Hot Hot. Because Fundamental Jam sound big, sounds like a heavy word. In the end, Hot 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 won out, and that made the song a tremendous international hit.
Right.
So that's my memory of, a great decision had to be made
Right.
for a song that turns out to be the #1 song. And I stood up for it. You know, that the song must be called Hot Hot Hot. I used some colloquial adjectives and my mother asked me to leave the house.
Okay. Wow, that's a great story. 2007,
Yeah.
you came back after an 18-year hiatus from the competition, and you
Absolutely.
sang a very, very touching song called The Country Need Prayer.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you said it was a message from your mom.
Absolute message. If she gives me a message, I'll be in the competition, Red Light. Well, listen, I had a very restful night, a very sound sleep that night, and I was awakened by my mother telling me, I was actually on the stage in the festival saying, the country need peace, prayer, sing that and win. And I said, I jump up and I start to write it immediately. And then the other song I sang was All I Want Is Money. I had a lot of opposition going into that competition. And my friends say, what you want to go in there for? Give the young boys a chance, come on. Because when them boys sing all when they're 80 and 90 and kitchen and these guys. Lord Nelson says 82 is still singing.
Yes.
So I don't understand why in Montserrat we want to write off people. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? Well, write me off. And you know, a lot the people think I should not be in the competition. But I had to carry out, I was given a mandate by my mother. If she comes between now and December, your Calypso is in trouble. I'll be coming.
Right.
Once she come and give me any instructions, I'm following them.
Right. Yes. Let me ask you, of all the songs you've done, what's your favorite?
Which song really made me feel good?
Well, actually, can you give me two? Give me a social commentary and give me a jumpy song.
Okay. The country need prayer, I think, because of the way I got it. You know, I got divine directives from my mother in heaven. And I felt that I carried out a wish that she had. And maybe God whispered in her ears to say, tell your son to sing about the country need prayer. So in terms of social commentary, that. In terms of really, well, I would say in terms of what that's a social commentary also. And then I say on the other end of it, Tiny Whiny.
Tiny Whiny.
Tiny Whiny.
Okay.
You know, have one regret about Tiny Whiny. When we were in Jamaica putting down these soundtracks, these tracks, the music tracks for our album, because we went there for that big jump sound, to quote Arrow. And then, you know, they were so amazed at the quality of my voice. You know, engineers, Byron Lee, who turned out to be the executive producer, that he asked me to do a song. And I sang Tiny Whiny, right? He said, oh my God. And then, you know, I was told by, you know, advisors, you know, there's a line which says, I'm a Montserrat and I love plenty action.
Right.
I was told to change it to I'm a West Indian so that he have international appeal. And I think that's the biggest mistake I ever made. Because people, some areas really well confused as to the origin of the song.
Right.
And then just to continue that story, then that year, after Tiny Whiny came on to be tremendous hit, we were touring in Jamaica for 3 weeks, I with myself and a number of, in some shows called Heat in the Place. And what Sean Byron Lee and them were using the Tiny Whiny video to promote Tiny Whiny and his album, he had his lead singer, Marvin Brooks, miming over my voice. But when people saw me in person, hear the people in the Regal Theatre when I sang Tiny Whiny, hear the real man there, man. Hear the man there, because you know when Marvin Brooks could sing like me, he could eat all the grapefruit and orange you want and gargle with that much honey and lime as you wish. But then, you know, so that to me was a sad day for Montserrat. I should not have changed that lyrical line to I'm a West Indian. And I think to that, even with Arrow, I always used to set him call an album Montserrat, because in some newspapers they refer to I was a Trinidadian.
Right.
And I don't, well, I believe he made several attempts to put the record straight. But I think that those things make me sad when I think back of what the music could have done for Montserrat. I mean, further for Montserrat.
Yes, I've traveled to many places, and whenever you're around Caribbean people or even non-Caribbean people, you hear hot, hot, hot at
Yes,
weddings.
exactly.
You hear tiny, whiny.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel a sense of, profound pride that you
Of
collaborated on these timeless
Of course.
classics?
Of course. And this is why I say sometimes, Cupid say he want to be dead before he died. I don't want to be dead before I die. That's Cupid is
Yes.
capable of some kind of strange thinking at times. But I don't have much that people appreciate. Those people among them, people even like you, the great work that we are doing, and we have made an impact on the world. And in Montserrat, I can recall when Emerald Community Singers, I could say it publicly, had a function a couple years ago recognizing Montserrat writers, and I was included and invited.
Yeah.
I'm not on that list. And at the same time, I wrote a whole album for Emerald Community Singers. They were using my songs, and even songs I wrote for like a little extra, and did not figure that I should be included among Montserrat writers. Come on, what do you call that?
Right.
It's two things. One thing I call that. Two things. Memory bad or extreme jealousy.
Right.
That's ridiculous. You understand? In Trinidad a couple of years ago, where the calypsos were considered boring and without melody, they said, boy, you need Arrow brother up here to go write some calypso. That's what an article in the newspaper. I mean, this country want to abuse me.
Right.
Want to abuse me. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yes.
Anyway, it comes back to national pride and loving your own. You know what I mean? That is, a matter for the politicians to start to have campaigns and programs and other persons to let's love things that are Montserrat and push Montserrat.
True.
We made tremendous breakthroughs in soca music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. It's funny when you speak to people around around the world, and you mention Montserrat. Well, sometimes they don't know where Montserrat is, but
Right.
if you do mention Montserrat, they say it's the place with a volcano.
Exactly.
They don't know it's the place that produced hot, hot, hot and tiny
Exactly.
whiny.
Yeah, I mean, they might mention lime juice because we're famous for
Yes.
lime juice and cotton.
Yes.
But we need to do more to promote Montserrat. And I'm so happy that now that there's a first draft of a cultural policy, we hope that will be a vehicle by which we can really promote Montserrat culture.
Yes. Now, going back a little bit, I know you talked about in the beginning about you and your brothers listening to calypso and writing on the lyrics and everything. Do you have a favorite calypsonian of all time that you like to listen to?
I'm going to call a name you probably never heard, Surpriser.
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 I've heard
Lord
of him.
Surpriser.
Trinidadian.
Yeah, but I just got his number from singing Francine when I was in Antigua doing this performance for Short Shirt. Because he's a friend of hers. When I was going to primary school, Surpriser came here with Rex Harrison. They used to do bicycle stunts. And they were living very close to the family home on Wall Street. And I went up there, he showed me how to write calypso, and he had a little copybook, as you say, and so on. If I got any training, I got it from him. Lord Surpriser. He don't have a hit that I know, but that guy. I'm going to call him sometime to have his number to say, he probably don't remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? But Lord Surpriser.
But he left an impression on you.
Yeah, absolute impression. Sparrow left an impression, but let me tell you what the impression Sparrow left on me. When I was at university in 1971, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad, and Arrow came down there saying wanting to do an album. I said, okay, let me take it on to Sparrow. He's the God, he's the demigod. He's the golden boy of Calypso. Let's go down there for some advice. So we went to Digger Martin at his place. I made an appointment. He said, come 10 o'clock. We arrived there at 10 o'clock, and he there playing his Romy and, having the whiskey and the boys and them. That goes, these guys, musicians together. And he ignored us completely till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We sit down in a corner. So when he told Arrow, let me see what you have, right? Arrow showed him, the various songs. I can remember Tourist Leg, no. So, Invitation to the Caribbean, I think we talk about Voluptuous Woman.
Yeah.
As Sparrow said, hey, nobody want to hear about that. People want to hear about Pussy Bite Me.
Yeah.
Arrow started to cry, tell how his songs are rubbish. He said one thing that made an impact on me and that served as the foundation for our music. But if you want to get through, be different. And that's the key. I always say we have to be different. So straight from by Sparrow in Digger Martin, I went to Frederick Street where Francine was working with a guy named Locan, who was a producer of music. And that's where Arrow made his start. Francine took him to Locan, and that's where Arrow made his start.
Okay.
If you recall, at the funeral, there was a Chinese girl there. That's the daughter of Locan.
Okay.
You know, that's how Arrow met her, and so on and so on.
Right.
So Sparrow had impact on me by giving us the right advice. Surpriser gave us, and no encouragement. Surpriser made an impact on me because he gave all encouragement.
Right.
Not Surpriser.
So Sparrow started off, I mean, he said something that was kind of hurtful in the beginning, I guess, to Arrow.
Sometimes people think they hurt you and they give you the right advice.
And they give you the right advice.
He said, I don't sound good.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, finally, I just want to ask you, 50 years.
Yeah.
The way our festival has evolved, when you look back at it and you reflect, what are the positives now, the negatives, regrets? How would you sum it up?
You mean in terms of my personal experience?
Overall, in general.
Well, I believe that festival, I would like to look at Montserrat Festival over the last 50 years in different phases. The early days where we transitioned from, you know, like the real old-time Christmas, and when Jesse's came on the scene, to what our first, you know, Jesse's Christmas Festival, right? That was quite nice because things were organized in a different way, got more organized, and people supported that. And then we went on, we had people like Mary Truitt and so on, Cedric Hall, where they had the first festival committee put together, and things, the festival started to evolve and get better and better. And I think that festival reached its peak just about when the volcano came about, right? And so on. And then since that festival was on a downward trend. But I think now the graph is starting to climb again. So I regret that we had a natural disaster like the volcano which disrupted things. And I regret also that because of this natural disaster, we had mass migration. So the revelers gone, not much revelers left.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the high percentage of the current population not involved in these festival activities like the indigenous people were. So the crowds are not the same. We have to depend on people like you and others coming in for Christmas to really ignite that spirit. I'm regretting that masquerades seem to have disappeared, whereas those days you had like every village had a masquerade. We used to sit down on the roof of my parents' house. I say, look, Longhorn group, look, Molyneux's group, look, Gage's group, and then Corkill group will come to Lovers Lane. I could have stayed right there and see their heads going out to Plymouth, and then they're coming around in your yard dancing. All of these things, I shudder when I think about them. And we don't do one masquerade group, that's Titus, God bless him, fighting with some masquerades, trying to keep it alive. So this is one area I hope the cultural policy will sort of address, where you have, you know, sustainability of our icon figures and Christmas characters. Let's get back into them. Let's have more than one string band. You know what I mean? And so on, you know. Yes. You know what I mean? Those things might get that these things are fading. Are fading. Of course, we evolving doesn't mean we get rid of these old traditional things that are not only unique, they're not just unique to Montserrat. Some of the islands have the John Bulls and so. But those kind of things disappearing, you know, and not much effort is made to resurrect them and things. So those are my kind of regrets. Another thing that is regrettable to me is that, you know, Calypsonians don't seem to be taking this thing serious. You know, in terms of the quality of the products they're putting out, they don't want to market it. Man, I made over $30,000 selling a cassette for $10 with galvanized.
Yes.
On an inferior recording, not like a sophisticated studios that they have these days, you know, and they have to try to market the stuff. It's not just well and good to try to win a calypso competition. Try and make some money.
Right.
I never focused on the competition. The prize money, I never saw the prize money. Because my guys, my handlers, and so they share it up amongst everybody. I probably got the most of it. Because it was something for the group. But I want people to take their work seriously. Those are my regrets. And so on.
How would you advise that they do that? I mean, because I think you can't really just tell somebody to take something seriously and hope they do it. Because I don't know if maybe Calypso doesn't have the intrinsic cultural sort of value that it once had. Because like you said, because of migration and different things like that, with people like Reality and Kenzie and those guys gone, I think it's sort of diluted the product a bit, don't you think?
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%, Red. Right now you come back to something that I feel I saw Jamaica do. We have to first recognize that culture, right? Couldn't do something for the economy. Culture could carry Montserrat forward. And coming with culture, various programs and community programs, you know, and policies that will enhance some of the activities that we expect to see in December. You know what I mean? There could be programs, you know, where you're promoting steel bands, string bands and all of that kind of stuff. That is what is needed. We can all of a sudden expect a snap of finger Christmas time and 5 string bands appear. We have to work on it throughout the year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We have to recognize that the world has changed and culture could mean a lot for people.
Right. What a wonderful way to sum it up. Mr.
Yeah.
Justin Hero
Yeah.
Cassell, thank you so much for spending time with us here today. I really appreciate it. And if you do plan to sing this year, I hope you let me know.
I could tell at this point, unless if that dreams come true, that might change my mind. But right now I want to enjoy the show. And as you say, I'm launching Eje, the son of Arrow, you know what I mean? He's coming in, he got the pedigree and he got to use it.
Right.
You know, so I'm launching Eje this year, I'm working on 2 stuff for him. So I just want to be handling, I'm a handler now rather than a competitor. Okay. But it's nice talking to you, Red Rider. I can talk for a whole week if you wish. Okay. We could talk, maybe after the festival we could chat again.
Absolutely.
And so because we have to start looking at the next 50 years.
Exactly.
And they have to start having a different approach in the next 50 years. So are the rising stars. I remember for the magazine, I go put you on spot online here, on this video here, that your footage that you're shooting, that you promised to do something for me, and I'm going to be, you're here until Friday in this lovely island of Montserrat, your home, so
absolutely.
I'm going to put some pressure on you.
I'm going to keep my promise. Thanks again very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.